For more than a decade, acoustic research held the largest share of the American loudspeaker market that any company has ever held, and its founder gave away the invention that earned it. And then in June 2003, a federal bankruptcy court in Florida approved the sale of the company's name alongside a portfolio of car stereo brands for a share of $40 million. Edgar Marion Vilcher was born in New York City in 1917. He did not study engineering, earning instead a bachelor's and a master's degree in art history from the City College of New York in 1939. His early professional goal was to design theatrical scenic sets. The Second World War altered this path when the United States Army drafted him in 1941. He trained in radio and radar maintenance, eventually serving as a captain and electronics officer in New Guinea, where he kept the radio systems of P-47 Thunderbolt fighters operational. This practical training in military electronics provided the foundation for his second career. After returning to civilian life, Vilcher opened a small radio repair shop on West 4th Street in Greenwich Village. He spent his days servicing radios, assembling custom home audio systems, and studying physics and mathematics independently at the New York Public Library. In 1952, New York University accepted his syllabus for a weekly evening course called Reproduction of Sound. Vilcher drove 2 hours each week from his home in Woodstock to deliver these lectures. At the time, the high-fidelity industry assumed that low-frequency reproduction required two things: a massive cabinet and a driver with a highly flexible mechanical suspension. Large vented enclosures dominated the market because they allowed the speaker cone to move back and forth with minimal restriction. Vilcher rejected this premise. He realized that the mechanical springs used in conventional speakers were inherently nonlinear, creating significant distortion. His solution was to seal the speaker cabinet completely, trapping the air inside. This trapped air acted as a highly linear spring, providing the restoring force for a tightly mounted speaker cone. He filed a patent application for this acoustic suspension principle on March 15, 1954, attempting to prove that clean bass could come from a box the size of a bookshelf. Vilcher did not plan to manufacture the speaker himself. He first offered his acoustic suspension patent to established audio manufacturers. Both Altec and Bozak rejected the design, dismissing the sealed box concept as physically impossible. Among the students attending Vilcher's NYU evening course was Henry Kloss, who operated a cabinet-making workshop in Cambridge, Massachusetts. In the spring of 1954, Vilcher drove Kloss to his laboratory in Woodstock to demonstrate the working prototype. Kloss was impressed by the low-frequency performance. He offered his loft space at 24 Thorndike Street in Cambridge to serve as their first factory. The partners incorporated acoustic research on August 10, 1954. Vilcher held a 51% controlling stake and served as president, while Kloss managed the manufacturing operations. In September 1954, the partners unveiled their first commercial product, the AR-1, at the New York Audio Fair. The speaker was priced at $185. The cabinet was roughly one-quarter the volume of competing high-fidelity models. Despite this small footprint, the speaker produced lower, cleaner bass than the furniture-sized enclosures of the era. The initial market response was cold. During their first year of operation, the company sold no speakers. This lack of business resulted in a net financial loss of $4,059, which threatened the young enterprise. A modest recovery began the following year. In 1955, Acoustic Research recorded total sales of $56,773, which generated a small net income of $1,587. In 1956, the United States Patent Office granted U.S. Patent number 2,775,309 to Vilcher, who assigned the rights to acoustic research. The company now possessed formal legal protection for its core design, though they still had to persuade a highly skeptical public. Established audio manufacturers argued that Vilcher's acoustic suspension design violated basic laws of physics. Industry critics claimed that a completely sealed cabinet would choke the woofer, restricting the movement of the cone and stifling low-frequency reproduction. In response, Vilcher initiated an unusual corporate policy of publishing complete technical specifications, raw measurements, and engineering theory. At a time when competitors published almost no objective technical data, Vilcher wrote regular, detailed columns for audio engineering and audio magazines, explaining the mechanical physics of sound reproduction to the public. He maintained that the only objective test of a loudspeaker was a direct comparison against live music. To prove this theory to a skeptical public, Acoustic Research organized a series of highly publicized demonstrations. Between 1958 and the mid-1960s, the company staged more than 75 live versus recorded concerts across the United States. These events paired the Fine Arts Quartet with a pair of AR-3 loudspeakers. The quartet played a piece of music, then stopped while a tape recording played through the AR3 speakers. To prevent the audience from detecting the transition, the musicians used a silent visual cue, lifting their bows slightly while continuing to mimic the physical motion of playing. The recordings were captured in anechoic chambers and outdoor environments to eliminate the double reverberation of the playback room. Audiences repeatedly failed to identify the precise moments when the live instruments stopped and the speakers took over. To expand this educational approach, Acoustic Research opened permanent public listening rooms, including a prominent mezzanine space in New York's Grand Central Terminal and a second venue in Cambridge, Massachusetts. These locations employed no sales personnel and sold no products. Visitors simply listened to music, asked technical questions, and reviewed published data sheets. Through these demonstrations, the company bypassed traditional retail skepticism, establishing scientific credibility while the legal exclusivity of its patent remained unresolved. Acoustic Research built its primary advertising campaign around the documented success of its public live versus recorded concerts. These promotional materials focused on listener response and the performance of the fine arts quartet rather than technical specifications. Several early competitors chose to adopt the acoustic suspension design under formal licensing agreements. These companies paid regular royalties to Acoustic Research, establishing the sealed box principle as the industry standard within 2 decades. This cooperative arrangement ended when Electro Voice refused to pay licensing fees for its own sealed box speaker models. Acoustic Research filed a patent infringement lawsuit against the firm. Electro Voice countersued, challenging the validity of the patent based on a prior art claim. The United States District Court ruled against Acoustic Research, voiding Vilcher's acoustic suspension patent. This judicial decision invalidated the patent completely, rather than allowing it to reach its ordinary expiration. Vilcher made the deliberate choice not to appeal the ruling. He explained this decision by citing the legal battles of Edwin Armstrong, the inventor of FM radio, who exhausted his health and finances fighting RCA before committing suicide in 1954. With the patent legally voided, the acoustic suspension design immediately entered the public domain. Every major audio manufacturer began utilizing the sealed box architecture without making royalty payments. Despite losing its exclusive legal monopoly, Acoustic Research achieved its greatest commercial victory. A 1966 industry survey conducted by the Institute of High Fidelity Manufacturers recorded that Acoustic Research held 32.2% of the American loudspeaker market. This remains the largest market share held by any loudspeaker company before or since. Subscribe to our channel for more stories about the rise and slow deaths of cultural empires. In 1958, Acoustic Research expanded its catalog with the introduction of the AR3 loudspeaker. This 3-way model paired the established acoustic suspension woofer with a hemispherical dome mid-range and a dome tweeter, both covered by a new patent drafted by Vilcher. Unlike conventional cone tweeters that beamed high frequencies in a narrow path, the curved surface of the dome allowed high-frequency sound waves to disperse widely across the listening room. This uniform off-axis response made the AR3 the reference bookshelf speaker of its day, favored by both professional musicians and academic laboratories. To capture a broader consumer audience, the company introduced a smaller, less expensive AR4 loudspeaker. This model scaled down the sealed box enclosure, bringing clean bass to college dormitories and starter apartments at a fraction of the cost. In 1961, the firm extended the same engineering logic to source equipment with the release of the AR turntable. The turntable isolated the platter and tone arm on a suspended subchassis, protecting the playback needle from external footsteps and floor vibrations to deliver high-speed stability and quiet performance. The material legacy of these designs earned formal museum recognition when the Smithsonian placed an original AR3 unit inside its permanent Information Age exhibition in Washington. Yet while these physical objects became historical monuments, this material success did not ensure corporate continuity. Henry Kloss left Acoustic Research in 1957 to co-found KLH. Kloss then established Advent in 1967. The flagship Advent loudspeaker employed the same sealed box principle that Vilcher had pioneered. This competitor speaker was priced at roughly half of Acoustic Research's comparable models. The price difference undercut Acoustic Research's market share throughout the following decade. In June 1967, Edgar Vilcher sold Acoustic Research to Teledyne. As part of the sale, Vilcher signed a non-compete agreement that prevented him from re-entering the home audio industry. Viltur turned his attention to hearing aid research. He developed a multi-channel compression system to aid individuals with hearing loss. His multi-channel compression design eventually became an industry standard for hearing aid manufacturing. Teledyne managed the acquisition as a wholly owned subsidiary. In 1973, Teledyne relocated all manufacturing operations to a larger plant. This new facility was located on American Drive in Norwood, Massachusetts. The Norwood factory relied on new automation equipment to increase speaker production. The Norwood facility featured modern assembly lines that replaced the older manual cabinet construction methods. The original Cambridge factory on Thorndike Street ceased all remaining operations in the late 1980s. This closure ended the era of domestic manufacturing for the brand's classic designs. Former employees recalled the final production run of the AR4 speaker occurring just before the gates closed. By 1989, Acoustic Research's global market position had declined. The company fell to 5th place in worldwide loudspeaker rankings. Teledyne sold the brand to Jensen in 1989. Jensen moved the production of some product lines to Benicia, California. Jensen merged the company's remaining assets with its own audio lines. Before the sale to Rekaton, Jensen had also acquired the Advent brand, uniting Claus's former ventures. In 1996, Jensen sold its consumer audio businesses to Rekaton. This sale bundled Acoustic Research with its former competitors, Jensen and Advent, under a single corporate parent. Rekaton managed these distinct brands under a unified corporate group, shifting the focus further from Acoustic Research's original engineering-driven identity. Rekaton filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on April 8, 2003. On June 3, 2003, a federal bankruptcy court approved Audiovox's bid for Rekaton's consumer audio operations. The terms of the sale specified a purchase price of $40 million, along with the assumption of $5 million in outstanding debt. The transaction grouped Acoustic Research as a single asset alongside Jensen, Advent, Pico Magnat, and Mac Audio. Audiovox acted strictly as a distribution and portfolio manager rather than an engineering successor. The stated business rationale for the acquisition focused entirely on securing retail shelf access and established distribution channels. A press statement from Audiovox positioned Jensen as the budget line and Advent as the middle tier. Acoustic Research was designated as the premium brand within this tiered portfolio. This administrative transition occurred without any of the markers of a historic manufacturing end. The company released no final model, made no closing announcement, and left no record of its last day of production. Edgar Viltur, then 85 years old and living in Woodstock, New York, was not involved in the transaction. His absence measured the distance between the original engineering enterprise and the trademark portfolio that survived it. The brand name became a label for imported products, detached from the physical factory that once dominated the high-fidelity market. Subscribe to our channel for more stories about the slow deaths of cultural empires. Today, the corporate registry of VOXX International lists the Acoustic Research trademark. The name is currently applied to portable, Bluetooth-enabled outdoor speakers. Some of these models are styled as decorative garden lanterns with built-in LED flame effects, retailing at prices between $100 and $200. These consumer accessories are manufactured by subcontractors in Asia. They share no lineage with the vanished engineering company from Cambridge, Massachusetts. The original firm was built on a different philosophy, operating public rooms in Grand Central Terminal where commuters were invited simply to sit and listen. Though the business did not survive, the physical principle did. Nearly every sealed box cabinet constructed in the modern era utilizes the acoustic suspension design. Because the court system voided Viltur's patent, this technology spread throughout the audio industry without royalty payments or public attribution. The airspring concept became a universal industry standard. Edgar Viltur died on October 17, 2011, at the age of 94. His late obituaries often gave greater weight to his contributions to audiology than to his consumer audio products, highlighting his development of multi-channel compression for hearing aids. His death closed a life defined by practical science. The historical record presents a quiet paradox. The engineering arguments raised by Viltur achieved a total and lasting victory, even as the pioneer company that proved them vanished entirely from the earth. Today, the acoustic suspension principle of the AR3 resides inside millions of modern audio systems. The Acoustic Research trademark now exists on imported novelty speakers, yet Edgar Viltur's airspring technology remains the universal industry standard. This silent engineering triumph is absolute. True innovation requires no corporate monument when it defines the medium itself.